Well, there's intense debate about the level of damage done to Iran's nuclear program. The CIA today says it does have credible intelligence that the nuclear program was severely damaged by the bombs. And CIA Director John Ratcliffe said their report includes new intel from a historically reliable and accurate source method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. To discuss, joining me now is Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute, John Lee. John, great to see you again.
Good evening, thank you.
What's your assessment of this intelligence? We've obviously seen conflicting reports. The Defence Intelligence Agency had a leaked report with an anti-Trump journalist who, said that the sites were just damaged. Where do you think the truth lies?
Well, the fact is we don't know. A lot of it will come from satellite photos. Some of it will come from signals intelligence, chatter in terms of what Iranians are saying. And some of it will come from sources on the ground that are informants. But until the inspectors go in and actually have a look, we won't really know for sure. So I think in intelligence speak, you can say it's credible, but you wouldn't say it's high confidence. And the second thing I'd say is that we still have to find out what happened to the plutonium, this highly enriched 60% plutonium, because even if you destroyed those facilities, the second part of it is what has happened to that 400 kilograms of plutonium.
And when some officials have been asked about this, and I know Rubio and others have made the point, I think the ambassador as well, Mike Huckabee, has made the point that the conversion facilities were destroyed. So even if that survived, and we don't know if it has, but the conversion facilities have been destroyed, so there's nothing that could be done with it. Is that accurate?
Well, I mean, technically that's accurate, but we need to confirm the conversion facilities were destroyed. But the second element is, are there external players who may assist the Iranians in making use of this plutonium? So the point still remains that we can't really feel fully secure that Iran won't, in a foreseeable future, have access to a nuclear device, even a crude one, until we know where that plutonium is.
It's interesting that Defence Intelligence report from CNN and the Washington Post that went global yesterday was actually a low-level assessment from one particular arm in an agency that was inconclusive, and it looks like it was misquoted in the report. The journalist who published it is young but has been behind a lot of other anti-Trump stories throughout her career as well. So this looks like anti-Trump stories that were later proven to be wrong, I should say, like Russiagate. So this looks like it was a partisan attack.
Unfortunately, in the American media environment now, you have to look at the media outlet to make a judgment about how reliable or what the motivation might be. Unfortunately, I spend a lot of time in the United States. Unfortunately, outlets like CNN, President Trump is actually correct. Outlets like CNN and New York Times, perhaps even the Washington Post, once very credible, august outlets, are now very politicised. So when I see a supposed leak that early coming just to these outlets, I was immediately quite suspicious.
Yeah, and then you look at the journalist and her history, and it makes you even more suspicious. I mean, we need to know the truth. The world needs to know the truth, whether those sites were completely obliterated or how much damage was done. So hopefully we will get that in the passage of time.
Yeah, and look, the reason why all this matters is because the Iranians have been smashed, but their capacity has been smashed. The intent hasn't changed. They still want a nuclear weapon. They still want to threaten Israel. They still want to threaten their Arab neighbours. And they still want hegemony over the Middle East. So until we can be absolutely clear they cannot get a nuclear weapon, I personally don't think President Trump should relax sanctions against the Iranians, or he should use that as something to force the Iranians to allow inspectors to clarify what has actually happened.
Yeah, or to allow access to the IAEA. Do you agree that this has been a very triumphant period for the president? I mean, the successful strikes on Iran, this agreement at NATO today, historic, the 5%. On both of those matters, no other president was able to achieve this, despite their stated desire.
Yeah. Look, that's correct. I know a lot of people say that the NATO General Secretary seemed rather fawning on President Trump, but he was actually correct. President Trump has achieved what other presidents said they wanted to do, that is to raise NATO defence spending in Europe, but failed to do so. On the Iran issue, Trump took risks. There is no doubt about that. Look, I would actually like to give far more credit to the Israelis than Trump likes to. They cleared the way for Trump to do that. But nevertheless, there are many presidents who I don't think would have done what Trump did in terms of taking out the facilities or using those bombs. When you take risk, it's high risk, it's high reward.
Just very quickly, we're out of time, but you do spend a lot of time in Washington. You're at the Hudson Institute, which is US-based. Is the Albanese government increasingly irrelevant?
It hasn't been raised. And the only time the Albanese government is raised is in a defence spending issue, which you've spoken about previously in your programs. The point is Australia is not raised as a can-do nation right now. Australia is raised as a laggard, and the question I generally get to the extent that Albanese government and Australia's raised is what is actually going on in your country.
Yeah, indeed. What is going on in our country? Can someone answer that? John Lee, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.